if you really stop and think about it, why does an alarm go off when it actually turns on?
Right. Yeah, it completely contradicts itself.
Exactly. And like, why does a fire go out when it basically turns off?
Yeah.
You start looking closely at English and you realize the logic we take for granted is just, it's completely wild.
Oh, totally. I mean, usually when you are trying to learn a new vocabulary word, you expect straightforward mathematics.
Right. Like one word equals one definition.
Exactly. You learn the noun for a table, you point at the wooden thing with 4 legs, and that's it. It's a clean transaction.
Yeah, but then
We naturally crave that kind of one-to-one categorization, because it makes language feel manageable. You want the world to be binary. It is or it isn't.
But then you step into the world of English phrasal verbs, and that simple equation just completely shatters. So, welcome to today's deep dive.
It really does shatter.
It really does. So for you listening today, we are unpacking this incredible linguistic dossier containing 30 indispensable English phrasal verbs. But we are not going to just hand you a vocabulary list to memorize.
No, please don't do that. Rote memorization is the worst way to learn these.
Yeah, the mission today is to pull back the curtain on the mechanics of these phrases. We are exploring the profound semantic versatility of these verbs, and we're going to utilize some advanced English vocabulary, craft some really sophisticated new examples, and hopefully elevate your conversational fluency.
Because, this is where the true genius of the language hides, right? It's in the messy metaphorical combinations.
Exactly. I like to think of phrasal verbs like a culinary reduction in a professional kitchen.
Oh, I like that analogy.
Right. You take a mundane, everyday base ingredient, like a very simple verb, say get or go or give.
Right, just the absolute basics.
Yeah. And then you add a preposition to the pan, like up, out, or over, and you apply the heat of cultural usage over a few centuries, and it boils down into this incredibly potent, concentrated burst of meaning.
That's exactly what happened.
By the time it reaches you, native speakers use it reflexively. They aren't tasting the individual ingredients anymore, they're just experiencing the final complex flavor.
And what's fascinating about that reduction process is the cognitive leap it requires from you as a speaker. Like, these verb-preposition pairings are rarely literal.
Right.
Instead, they form this essential metaphorical scaffolding of modern English communication. They allow us to navigate incredibly complex, abstract concepts like emotional trauma or shifting power dynamics by using the rudimentary language of physical space.
Physical space. Yeah, that's the key. Yeah.
We are literally mapping the invisible psychological world using the vocabulary of the physical world. It's wild when you really look at it.
It is wild. So let's test that out by looking at how we navigate the most primal of those physical worlds, right? Survival, evasion, and dealing with adversaries.
The fun stuff.
Yeah. Think about the basic mechanics of staying alive and out of trouble. You have phrases like get by, get away with, get back at, hunt down, and hold back.
Right. So if we break down the mechanics of survival, look at the stark contrast between getting by and getting away with. They sound similar, but
The vibe is totally different.
completely. When you say you are getting by, pay attention to the word by. You aren't conquering the obstacle, right? You are merely skimming past it.
Like sliding along the edge of it.
Exactly. You are subsisting on the absolute minimal resources available. You're just surviving the elements, whether that's, financial scarcity or navigating a foreign city with a severe language barrier.
You're scraping the edge.
Yeah.
But then get away with shifts the entire paradigm.
Yes, because getting away with introduces evasion. The away implies creating physical distance from the consequence, and the with implies you are still holding the spoils of whatever you did.
Right.
It's the evasion of culpability. For instance, picture a high-level corporate scenario, right? You could say the corporate embezzler operated under the delusion that he could get away with obfuscating the financial ledgers indefinitely.
Oh, wow. So it's not just a phrase for, like, a kid sneaking an extra cookie before dinner.
Exactly. You can scale it up to high-stakes, white-collar crime. It implies a deliberate, conscious escape from justice.
And if someone is trying to get away with something, the natural response is our next verb, which is hunt down.
Yeah, hunt down brings real gravity into the equation. The word down implies forcing the target to the ground, right?
Sure.
Stopping its movement entirely.
And what's interesting for you as a speaker trying to sound more sophisticated is that you don't just use this for tracking criminals or, wild animals.
Right, it's not just for bounty hunters.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You can apply that predatory energy to academic or professional diligence.
Yeah.
Like, I had this thought, What if you said, I had to meticulously hunt down an obscure first edition manuscript in the university archives?
Oh, that's a great example. You are trading a piece of paper as prey.
Right. You're transferring that relentless primal energy of a predator to an intellectual pursuit. It immediately elevates the intensity of your sentence.
It really does.
But let me interrupt this survival logic for a second with the verb hold back.
Okay, sure.
Because my instinct is that holding back is almost universally framed as a negative concept. Like we are constantly told not to hold back our true selves.
You're right, yeah. Live your truth. Don't hold back.
Yeah, it implies stifling progress or suppressing a necessary emotion, like struggling to hold back tears. But are we always using it to describe a detrimental suppression? Like, couldn't it serve as a prudent tactical maneuver in, say, a high-stakes negotiation?
That's a really good question. You have to look at the physical mechanism of restraint.
Yeah.
You are applying a counterforce to forward momentum. Yes, there is often a severe psychological toll to holding back your genuine ambitions or holding back your true feelings. It creates a pressure cooker. But contrast that internal suppression with a vital physical necessity.
Like what?
Picture a line of riot police having to hold back a surging, volatile crowd to maintain civic order.
Oh, I see.
In that context, holding back isn't a negative suppression of truth, you know? It is the fundamental mechanism of safety. It's the deliberate application of counterforce to prevent a catastrophe.
So it's the difference between bottling up an emotion and reinforcing a dam.
Beautifully put, yeah.
And when those forces inevitably clash, we see the urge to get back at someone, which is an incredibly spatial way to describe revenge, if you think about it.
It really is.
You're taking the kinetic energy of a conflict and literally directing it backward at the person who threw it at you.
The energy is returned to the sender. The scales are balanced through spatial retaliation.
Which naturally leads us to think about what happens when we aren't in conflict.
Yeah.
Let's look at the very fabric of society itself, right? The ebb and flow of human connection.
The transition from enemies to friends.
Exactly. How we forge, sustain, and inevitably sometimes lose our interpersonal bonds. Here we have hit it off, get along, get together, hang out, grow apart, and get over.
Right, and if you trace the life cycle of a relationship through these specific verbs, it reveals a lot about how we view social friction. A connection usually begins with a sudden, unexpected spark.
Right, the instantaneous rapport of hitting it off. Think about the percussive nature of the word hit. It's sudden, and it implies impact.
Yeah, it's not a gentle word.
Not at all. So
Yeah.
picture this scenario. Despite their diametrically opposed political ideologies, the two delegates hit it off instantly over their shared passion for vintage horology.
Oh, I love that. Notice how hit it off doesn't describe a slow, methodical build. It's a collision that miraculously results in harmony rather than damage.
Yeah, exactly.
But you can't sustain a collision forever, right? Once that initial kinetic energy settles, the relationship seeks equilibrium. You start to get along.
Which implies moving parallel to one another. You are moving along the same path without bumping into each other.
Precisely. The friction is gone. And from there, you maintain the bond with low-stakes interactions. You get together and you hang out.
Hang out is such a classic.
It is. And the word out in hang out is key here. You are out in the open, unconstrained by formal obligations or tight schedules. You are just suspended together in time.
Just floating. But then sometimes that equilibrium fails,
Yeah.
and we have to examine grow apart.
The sad one.
Yeah. To me, growing apart is exactly like the geological concept of continental drift.
Oh, that's a brilliant analogy.
Right. On a Tuesday, it is entirely imperceptible. You don't feel the tectonic plates moving beneath your friendship. But over a span of 5 or 10 years, you wake up and realize the emotional distance has become geographically devastating.
Yeah, it's unbridgeable.
Yeah.
And the profound tragedy of that phrase is embedded in the word grow. We are conditioned to view growth as inherently positive, you know?
Right.
Plants grow, economies grow, children grow.
Right. Growth is good.
But here, the growth is directional and the vectors are opposing. Consider this usage. It is a profound tragedy when lifelong confidants grow apart, not from any overt malice, but merely from the silent accumulation of divergent life
The
choices.
silent accumulation. Wow, that captures it perfectly. The growth itself becomes the wedge.
Exactly.
And when that distance becomes permanent, you are faced with the final verb in this social life cycle, which is get over.
And the mechanics of getting over are a perfect example of what we discussed earlier, mapping the physical onto the psychological.
How so?
Well, it originates as a purely physical instruction. You get your body over a literal brick wall or a hurdle on a track.
Right.
But we have adapted it to signify a psychological barrier. The grief, the heartbreak, the professional disappointment, it manifests as a massive obstruction in your mental landscape.
So you can't go around it. You can't go under it.
Exactly. You must actively, laboriously transcend it to heal. Getting over requires upward and forward emotional movement against the gravity of your own sadness.
Man, that is heavy, but so true.
It is.
So when these relationships mature or when we interact with institutions, we often encounter complex power dynamics. Someone has to lead and someone has to yield. Let's examine the architecture of concession and authority.
Oh, this is a fascinating group.
Yeah, we're looking at give in, give up, hand in, hand over, and give away.
The most critical nuance for you to master in this group is the distinction between giving in and giving up, because they sound nearly identical to a learner, but the internal mechanics are completely different.
Okay, break that down for us.
So giving in is about capitulating to external pressure. The in implies crumpling inward. You maintain your original desire, but the outside force becomes too heavy to withstand. For instance, the besieged garrison adamantly refused to give in to the invaders' draconian demands. They didn't lose their internal will to fight, right? They were simply resisting the external squeeze.
So giving in is bending to the weight of the world.
Right.
But what about giving up? The up implies throwing your hands in the air. But here's my question. Is giving up universally a manifestation of failure? Because socially, we treat it like a dirty word, like never give up. But couldn't it occasionally represent, I don't know, a highly enlightened recognition of the sunk cost fallacy?
Oh, absolutely. That is a crucial distinction.
Like, I am wasting my life on this futile project. I need to stop.
Yes, giving up is an internal abandonment of an endeavor. You are releasing the burden upward. And no, it isn't always a failure. Giving up a deleterious habit like smoking or relinquishing a toxic, cynical mindset is a profound victory.
Right.
You are abandoning something that actively harms you. The negative connotation only originates when you give up on a complex problem prematurely before you have exhausted your potential.
That reframes it entirely. It's an internal switch, not just an external defeat.
Exactly.
And then we have the hand verbs, which represent authority in a very tactile, physical way. There is the bureaucratic formality of handing in a document like submitting your doctoral thesis versus the much more severe relinquishing of power when you hand over something.
Yeah, the prepositions dictate the severity there. In implies submission to a receptacle. You hand a paper in to a teacher's inbox.
Right.
But over creates a spatial arc of transfer from one domain of power to another. You hand in an assignment, but a deposed leader has to hand over control of the government.
The arc of transfer. I love that. And we shouldn't overlook giveaway. We use it casually for donating old winter coats. But linguistically, it's most potent when describing the involuntary forfeiture of a secret.
Yes, the accidental reveal.
Right. Like this. Her imperceptible microexpressions ultimately gave away her underlying trepidation.
Ah, that's a good one. She didn't consciously hand the information over, but her body gave it away anyway. It leaked out from the internal to the external.
Which transitions us perfectly to how things move in and out of literal and metaphorical spaces. Let's look at spatial metaphors dealing with immersion, egress, and escalation.
What's on the list for this one?
We've got get into, get out, go ahead, heat up, and go off.
Ah, so we're back to the scaffolding of physical space.
Yeah. Let's start with getting into something. When you really get into a new field of study or, a bizarre niche hobby, it is exactly like descending a metaphorical rabbit hole.
It really is.
It requires two things: the literal physical entry of your time into the subject, and then a complete psychological immersion where the walls of that topic surround you entirely. You aren't just looking at it, you are inside it.
And conversely, you have getting out or heading out, which is the necessary extraction from a space, right?
Yeah.
Whether it's leaving a restrictive, hazardous environment or just leaving a party.
Right.
But what I find truly captivating in this group is the paradox embedded in the phrase, go out.
Oh, yeah. This is the one that really bends the rules of logic.
It does. It possesses a distinct, contradictory dichotomy based entirely on context. On one hand, it signifies expanding into the world for a violent, energetic social engagement.
Like, we are going out tonight.
Exactly. It implies light, noise, vitality, and escaping the confines of your house. But conversely, it is the exact phrase we use to describe a fire or a power grid being extinguished.
The lights went out.
Right. It represents a sudden, total cessation of energy.
It's so weird. How does the exact same phrase mean creating energy and destroying energy.
It depends entirely on what is moving. When you go out, you are leaving your container to experience the world. When a fire goes out, the energy is escaping its container, dissipating into nothingness because the fuel is gone.
That is fascinating. The energy dissipates. And speaking of energy, we have the verbs of escalation and initiation.
Right, go ahead, heat up and go off.
Yeah. If you are given the green light on an initiative,
Yeah.
you go ahead. You have authorization to proceed into the space in front of you.
And if things move too fast or without control, they might go off.
Right. For example, without the requisite safety protocols in place, the volatile chemical compound was liable to go off.
Yeah, going off implies a violent, uncontained release of energy. The energy leaves its designated state, whether that's a literal chemical explosion or a blaring alarm shattering the silence of a room.
And right before things go off, they usually heat up. Like the geopolitical rhetoric began to heat up precipitously following the imposition of unilateral sanctions.
We use thermodynamics to describe human tension.
We are literally applying the physics of temperature to political arguments. Friction creates heat, heat creates explosions.
It's poetry, honestly.
It kind of is. But let's bring the temperature down for our final section.
Good idea.
Having explored high-stakes escalation, we need to ground this in the everyday. The minutia of mundane logistics and the temporal pauses that dictate modern life. We're talking about get on, get off, hang on, hold on, hang up, go over, and grow up.
These are the navigational tools of the daily grind. Take the meticulous review of information with go over.
Give us an example.
Well, before finalizing the corporate merger, the legal team must meticulously go over the labyrinthine stipulations embedded in the contract.
Oof. Labyrinthine stipulations. Nice.
Thanks. But notice they aren't just reading it. The over implies they are hovering above the text, surveying the entire landscape of the document to spot any traps.
Yeah, viewing it from above. And then you have the commands for maintaining physical stability or requesting patience. Hang on and hold on.
Right.
They sound identical, but there's a slight textural difference, isn't there? Hold on feels firmer.
Definitely.
Like, I implore you to hold on to your core convictions amidst the burgeoning wave of public skepticism.
Yeah.
You are gripping your beliefs so they aren't swept away.
Yes. Hold implies a deliberate, enduring grip. Hang on, it feels slightly more precarious, as if you were dangling.
Dangling, yeah.
But both of them conjure the image of physically gripping a ledge while time passes. And of course, we have the ubiquitous hang-up.
Ah, pure linguistic fossil.
Entirely. Born from the era when terminating a telecommunications link literally required hanging a heavy earpiece onto a physical hook on the wall.
It's crazy that we still say it.
I know. The physical action has been obsolete for decades, but the phrase is immortalized in our vocabulary.
Okay, wait, I need to interrupt with a genuine question here.
Go for it.
Because I was thinking about how we move in and out of spaces earlier and playing the role of the perplexed learner for a second. I just realized something incredibly frustrating about transportation prepositions.
Oh boy. I think I know where this is going.
Why on earth do we get on a bus, but we get into a car?
Yeah.
Like they are both motorized vehicles with wheels that take you to a destination. Why does English demand different prepositions?
It is the source of endless frustration for anyone learning the language, but there is actually an implicit architectural rule of thumb governing this.
Really? It's not just random.
No, it's all about the shape of the space.
Okay, explain.
If a vehicle requires you to physically walk onto a platform, a deck, or down an aisle, like a bus, a train, an airplane, a ferry, or even a horse, you get on it, you are stepping onto a surface.
Okay, so the surface area matters.
Exactly. However, if you must crouch, bend, or fold your body to enter a confined, enclosed space where you cannot stand up and walk around, like a car, a taxi, a helicopter, or a submarine, you get in or get into it.
Wait, that makes so much sense.
Right. The language fundamentally differentiates between walking aboard a platform and inserting yourself into a container.
Platform versus container, that clears up so much confusion. You straddle a motorcycle, so it's a platform, you get on it, you fold into a sports car, so it's a container, you get in it.
You got it, exactly.
Yeah.
And to close out our list, we have a phrase that straddles the line between objective biological reality and subjective judgment. Grow up.
Right, because objectively, it's just biological progression, moving from childhood to adulthood. You grow up and get taller.
But linguistically, it is frequently wielded as a sharp, subjective critique of puerile behavior.
Puerile, yeah, like immature.
Exactly. When you tell a 40-year-old colleague to grow up, You are weaponizing their chronological age against their childish behavior. You are highlighting the disparity between their physical growth and their psychological stagnation.
Ouch. Yeah, it's a harsh critique.
Thanks.
So what does this all mean for you listening to this deep dive? Let's synthesize the journey we've just taken.
We covered a lot of ground.
We really did.
Sure.
From the rudimentary survival tactics of getting by on the margins, to the devastating continental drift of growing apart from a friend, all the way to the complex bureaucratic maneuvers of handing over control.
It's the whole human experience.
Yeah, these 30 phrasal verbs truly constitute the indispensable connective tissue of the English lexicon. Fluency, it isn't merely about accumulating a massive, ostentatious vocabulary list.
No, not at all.
True mastery of the language is about understanding the subtle prepositional pivots that can alter a verb's entire trajectory. Changing give in to give up shifts it from an external surrender to an internal release. It's powerful.
That is the core takeaway. And I actually want to leave you with a final lingering concept to mull over as you go about your day.
Oh, please do.
We talked a lot about the cognitive implications of spatial language. When we say we are getting over a heartbreak or getting out of a restrictive, toxic situation, we are unconsciously mapping physical, bodily movement in three-dimensional space onto completely invisible, abstract psychological states.
Right.
So think deeply about that. What does our absolute inescapable reliance on these spatial metaphors reveal about the fundamental ways the human brain actually processes emotional trauma and complex social dynamics?
Wow.
Like, are we utterly incapable of understanding our own feelings without pretending they are physical objects we can walk around, step over, or hide from?
Are our emotions just rooms we're constantly walking in and out of, or hurdles we have to jump? That's a lot to think about. We invite you to listen to your own conversations today.
Yeah, just pay attention.
Notice how often you use physical space to describe your invisible feelings. Pay attention to the ingredients you're putting in your pan. What kind of linguistic reduction are you boiling down? Thanks for exploring this with us, and we'll catch you on the next deep dive.